This is the Loylogic Podcast, where we help make sense of the biggest challenges facing loyalty program leaders today.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Austin Clark.
There are people who, on a low salary, is keeping their points and they end up buying an Apple Watch. And for them, that's a status symbol. That's what keeps them alive. And with that status symbol in their world, they then start to exercise. And therefore, they then say, actually, let me improve my financial health because it's got good returns for me as an individual.
That is Dr. Neba Hene, Head of Loyalty and Rewards at African Bank, talking about the world-class loyalty program called Audacious Rewards that is incentivising positive financial behaviour for all of the South Africa-based bank's customers across its multiple products. Neba joins us to talk about why and how the bank decided to roll out a bespoke loyalty program designed to work for all African Bank customers, plus, of course, their very own African bankers. The true purpose of this program is to reward the often unrewarded, enabling members to earn and redeem loyalty points with an exciting network of partners, covering day-to-day purchases as well as exclusive aspirational rewards, all without having to deal with unnecessary red tape or jump through hoops. For this episode, we're also joined by Gabby Cool, Chief Executive of Loylogic, who worked with African Bank on the creation and development of Audacious Rewards. Together, we'll delve into the mechanics of the program, talking about partnerships with loyalty specialists and leaders, how the program is being made to work for everybody, how cost, return on investment and success are being calculated. Plus, we'll find out more about the customer messaging and the rewards that are behind the rapid growth of this program. There's loads to talk about, so without further ado, Neba, welcome, and Gabby, welcome back.
Great to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
Hello, Austin. Hello, Gabby. Great to be here for the first time, and I'm truly looking forward to this enriching conversation.
Me too. So, Neba, let's start with you. Can you tell us more about why African Bank decided there was a need for a custom-made loyalty program that is rewarding the previously unrewarded?
Thank you very much for that question, Austin. African Bank, at the heart of it, is a customer-centric bank. It means we always consider our customers when we're designing our financial solutions. This approach lies at the heart of who African Bank is. We're a bank for the people, by the people, and serving the people. That is the key to the delivery of our vision. And that is why we've delivered Audacious Rewards, because we want it to be sustainable, accessible, and inclusive to all South Africans. But also equally important in the context of South Africa and the unrewarded. Financial literacy is a major challenge. Therefore, it's important that we incentivize positive financial lifestyle modification in this regard so that we can advance people's lives.
So how did you go about developing and setting up the Audacious Rewards program? What drove you to be so innovative and challenge the status quo when it comes to banking rewards?
At African Bank, everything is inspired by our rich heritage. And let me tell you where our heritage comes from. We had founders who decided to put some money together to build a bank. That is sheer audacity. Imagine people coming from the township saying, we need to support our people so that they can have access to funding, so they can build businesses. And that is where the vision came from. And therefore, with that audacity, we then decided we're going to name our program Audacious Rewards. And one thing that you may be aware of, the majority of South Africans are excluded from rewards programs, especially within the financial sector, mainly due to two reasons. First reason is that most programs, you are required to pay a monthly subscription. With Audacious Rewards, it's free. Also, most programs are tiered, which means it's based on your earning potential or the number of financial solutions you hold. So if you are struggling to make ends meet, it's very difficult for you to have a number of solutions. And you get disheartened because you are being punished or you feel punished for not having money at that point in time. And also, what we did, because we are audacious and we're ambitious, we said, let us partner with the best in the market. We've partnered with Loylogic, which are internationally acclaimed. We've worked with a number of rewards programs. and also Pinnacle locally, which are specialized in the financial services programs in terms of loyalty programs.
Thanks, Neba. So, Gabby, bringing you in here, and given everything that Neba has said there, from Loylogic's perspective, what was it like working with Neba and the Audacious Rewards team? And what for you made them stand out in the delivery and creation of what has already become a much acclaimed loyalty program?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Austin. I think the company, the partnership between our companies has now been in place probably approaching 2 years already. When we initially started the discussion on how we could design a whole of banking loyalty proposition, which would be a real extension of the bank's corporate strategy, which was designed at that time. What makes this partnership quite unique is that from day one, the executive team of the bank, including the CEO, took a real deep and personal interest in how such a program should be built, also making sure that it would be measurable along the way with metrics that would resonate in the boardroom of the bank. So I would say the level of executive sponsorship and also the deep understanding of the program and its offering is something that we don't come across often when we are designing and implementing such programs. And that probably helps to really set this program apart in the industry. If you fast forward from these kind of initial discussions that we had almost 2 years ago, you will now find a program that includes a lot of beloved local brands as part of the proposition, as well as global brands. Lots more to come actually in that space as well, what the teams are working on. But it was not just on the program itself. The bank also committed on different layers. So they said, if we want to launch a program like this and run it and grow it and really make a difference in the market, then we need to have our own world-class in-house loyalty team and structure ourselves accordingly. So I think Neba is probably the biggest testament in there. So they brought him in from an external kind of environment to spearhead the loyalty team based on his own rich experience as well in the South African loyalty landscape coming from different industries. So yeah, I think it's a very exciting partnership, a very exciting proposition.
So Neba, back to you. Focusing on the program itself, how are Audacious Rewards members being rewarded? What's the driver?
Thank you for Gabby's kind words. And I think we've equally enjoyed working with Loylogic. I think it's a great partnership. It's very seldom you'll find people have got a mutual interest in one thing. And that is what we call a partnership. In my language, I would say it's a marriage made in heaven. But having said that, there are two drivers which are key to us. It's the immediacy of rewards and incentivizing for improved financial health. Those are two main drivers. And let me explain this to you in this way. Audacious Rewards members immediately earn points for their everyday banking. That is key for us. And that is a major differentiator and a driver. For example, when they swipe the African Bank card, they immediately earn points, which they can redeem vouchers, groceries, airtime, data, convert their points to cash. And we call this points you can count on. We believe that a person must get points immediately. And then secondly, it's important that we incentivize people for positive financial behavior. One of that example would be in our credit report. So if you request a credit report, you earn points. But the most important element is that a year down the line, if your credit score has improved, then you get additional points. What we're saying is that use your funds accordingly, responsibly. Yes, take a loan with us, but you don't want that loan to be at the expense of your financial position.
That's interesting, isn't it? If you look at the mechanics, and that immediacy is something that we don't normally experience, or certainly don't often experience with a loyalty program. So is that key for you?
Extremely key, because think about it this way. An average South African is battling to make ends meet. By the time they get paid at the end of the month, they don't have funds. Now, if you're awarding people the points at the end of the month, when their salary is in their bank account, it's good, but hey, what about this? I've just made a transaction, I've made a purchase, then in a day or 2 days' time, I've got points which I can supplement my income or my disposable income, or I can add on to what I need to purchase. That is what you're being there for the customer at the moment of truth. The moment of truth and the reality in the South African context is that after 5 to 10 days, they have spent their salary. So what happens for the remainder of the month? They need the points, and those are the points that they have earned in the first 10 days of transacting or in their everyday banking.
Gabby, turning to you here, as you were heavily involved in the development of the programme, Audacious Rewards clearly comes with costs associated to it. So how do you predict those costs, and how do you work out the return on investment? How are you demonstrating programme value and managing risk, and where does cost per point management come into play, which I guess is key here?
Yeah, the key approach that we took in that phase to make sure that the bank and the management has got full visibility and transparency in like how to optimize the investment in such a program for the benefit of both the bank and for the customers. So we use member equity as a term, as the main way to determine the value that the program creates. So what that means in reality is that every month the data gets extracted, whereby each individual member is kind of rescored on what is called their expected future profit on an individual level, which basically is a measurement similar to customer lifetime value, but also taking into account the predicted cost of the loyalty points that you are planning to issue to the members over the next coming years. Then, if you aggregate basically these expected future profits on individual customer level, that then amounts to what is called member equity, which is the term used in discussions with the bank's executive team to monitor if the program is delivering the value it's expected to deliver for the bank. So based on our solutions that we have in play in that sense, we can then customize also the cost per point investment for the various redemption categories so that the bank has got the tools in place to drive the right level of member engagement on one hand side against the right level of investment in the reward cost, Austin.
Super. Thanks, Gabby. And Neba, have you got anything to add there?
Yes, for sure. Another element which is quite a high cost driver is the redemption cost. It's one of the largest expenses in a loyalty business model. So it's always difficult to calculate return of investment, or you cannot. Let me be blunt about it, without virtually understanding what's the redemption cost. Redemption cost is different from other costs because it's an unknown. You do not know how your customers or your members are going to redeem. So the only way you can actually really do it is predict. Because some people will redeem the points immediately they've earned it, and some are hoarders of points. They'll keep them for a number of years, which I fall under the category. I like to keep my points for 10 years so I can buy something big. Or there are people that never spend them and they expire. So it's very difficult to establish return of investment. But fortunately for African Bank, it's not something that I have to rack my brain about. It's because we're fortunate that we've got some clever people, got an actual firm, which is called Kairos. And I can openly say these guys are the best of the best. Why do I say that? Because they're the only actual firm in the world that is solely focused on loyalty program. Therefore, they help us estimate the redemption costs and they monitor the risk in order to understand what is our return on investment. And they've been doing a good job thus far in advising us and making sure that we sail into a safe space.
Something's working, clearly, because in just 10 months, the Audacious Rewards programme has reached 28% of African Bank's debit and credit card customers, which I think is phenomenal. What messaging are you using, and how do you make sure you know which rewards really encourage customers to take action?
So we use multiple platforms to communicate to our customers and prospective customers. One approach that we've taken was we're going to do a lot of test and learn because this is a new territory for African Bank. Therefore, what we do, we spend a lot of time having a holding group and having some test groups in order to see how is it going to do our behavior. For example, if we're going to send out a message, we'll have a holding group and we'll have different messaging based on behavioral science, terminology, and language and messaging. Then we send to our membership base and we see which one of these is the most effective. Whatever we find most effective, we will then know that in future we'll scale that element. And there are some instances whereby none of them have worked. We then go back to the drawing board and say, how do we enhance this? How do we work on that? And that is what we do on a month-to-month basis. So A/B testing is our bread and butter at African Bank.
It's interesting that you're almost learning as much from what isn't working as what is in that instance. So moving on, Neba, I would like to ask you about some of the challenges you've faced with Audacious Rewards, including around attribution. If you can give us a quick overview of the major challenges you've come across and how you've overcome them, please.
One that I had, Austin, which has caused sleepless nights for me. It's not an exact science, and it's quite a difficult one, and even quite difficult when it comes to the boardroom, is around attribution. That, for me, has been the biggest challenge, because the leadership asks you, never prove to us that it is Audacious Rewards that is making the impact, and not everything else that we are doing in the bank. So what is attribution? It's basically meaning what would happen if the program was not in existence. With the inclusion of the program, does it have an impact? So given this, you have to do an estimation, but one that I have found favor on, it's what I call the lookalike analysis. We take two groups. One group, which is Audacious Rewards members and non-members, which are the exact same. So which means they've got the same characteristics. And then to say, well, here is an Audacious Rewards member or a Rewards member who has got the same characteristics, spending behaviors as an unrewards member. Let's compare those two. And in what we found as a business, as Audacious Rewards, we are having an uplift amongst those individuals which are rewards members. So in summary, for attribution, we look at lookalike analysis, which is, we believe it's as true as close it is, but there's many other ways. But also it's a combination of different things to do.
It's interesting that you've mentioned the uplift there, and we'll come on to talk about the impact the program's had a little bit later on. But Gabby, earlier on, Neba referred to the fact that Audacious Rewards points can be used to buy everyday essentials and or to create memorable moments. So what does this mean from a Loylogic perspective for the brand partnerships and marketplace content you enable within the program?
Yeah, that's kind of course, a topic close to our heart, Austin. So in general, we always very firmly believe in connecting the right brands in such a marketplace to the right community. And everything starts in a great loyalty or engagement program in general by offering the relevant and motivational rewards for that particular audience in a program. So if you take a step back, platinum members in a frequent flyer program, of course, would be a very different audience versus the members in a program like Audacious Rewards, where consumers might sit in a different income segment level and might be on a different kind of stage in their own path to prosperity for their families. So while the level of income, of course, might be an important indicator, we would find it would be a gross mistake to translate that into a very simplistic thinking around, okay, that should then mean lower cost rewards. So if you think about deeply understanding the audience, their wants, their wishes, their dreams in life, that will then allow you to shape a program which is full of rewards, which will resonate with the audience and truly excite them. So that's normally where we would like to start. Understand the community, think about brands which can add value to the lives of these members, then get very creative on how you identify rewards which matter, which might have a high perceived value for the audience, and ideally also a lower actual cost for the bank in the execution. And then bring it to life with really great creative execution so that it's super appealing in its presentation to the members. And so that's why you will see in the Audacious Rewards offering that members can now redeem points at a very wide selection of much loved brands in the South African context, such as Pick n Pay or ShopRite or Cell C or MTN or Intercape or Spur or New Metro or Uber. And well, I can go on the list.
The list goes on, Gabby.
The list goes on, exactly. But they are brands that are understood and loved by the audience in the program. So then the members can shop online in the Audacious Reward shop. They can even convert points actually to cash in the offering. And you heard Neba talk about it earlier on, knowing how challenging the South African financial climate is for many consumers. The fact that African Bank can use and uses world-leading AI scoring and machine learning to guide its constant redefining of the program, onboarding new programs and or products and brands and transactions. That I think makes this program so unique. What is also interesting, and of course we're here in an audio environment, so visually we don't have the benefit of showing kind of elements in there, but the loyalty team of the bank also works extremely close with the chief marketing officer and his team at the bank, so that this program is a real extension of the whole revamped brand positioning and brand identity of the bank. So the creative execution, and I would encourage also the listeners to look at some of the kind of creative executions what the bank has done, is really kind of it's a wonderful expression of the program and what the brand stands for. Yeah, so I think summing all of that part up, when the collective teams come together of the bank and the various agencies involved in there, I think we're on a journey to move consumers who are interested in the African bank brand and services, making sure that these members get involved with the brand by using more and more services and more often. And in the end, trying to lead them to really kind of a stage where as many customers as possible have made African bank part of the daily lives, driving digital adoption in the banking services, also creating the behavioral changes that of course the bank is also seeking from a business perspective, all underpinned by supporting customers in their journey to financial wellness.
Just to add on what Gabby is saying, one of the most important things for anybody is to dream. If you take away people's dreams and aspirations, you kill the human spirit within them. And the nice thing here, and what Gabby is making reference to, is that part of our partners, they're aspirational partners. You've got to have that aspirational part. The person says, I want to keep my points so I can buy an Apple Watch, which we've got in our store. Because we humans, we interact. We want what other people want. And that's what advancing lives. Advancing lives meaning, therefore, you can have a better life for yourself in whichever way you determine or you find value in. And that is what we do and we allow at African Bank and enable. Because there are people who, on a low salary, is keeping their points and they end up buying an Apple Watch. And for them, that's a status symbol. That's what keeps them alive. And with that status symbol in their world, they then start to exercise. And therefore, they then say, actually, let me improve my financial health because it's got good returns for me as an individual.
Brilliant. Given what you've said, what impact is African Bank and Audacious Rewards having on everyday South Africans? And what impact do you predict it will have in the future?
In a short period of time, I'm happy to say that we are seeing a positive impact, some very good green shoots in the program. And I'll make reference to two elements which are key to our strategic drivers. One of our strategic drivers as African Bank is digital adoption. Is how do we get more people using our products digitally? So that's quite key. So then you ask the question, has Audacious Rewards made an impact in that area? And I'm happy to say that, first of all, Audacious Rewards members have a higher adoption of the digital services. Why is that? Because the redemption happens digitally, because we want to redeem. And 60% of rewards members log in the African Bank app more than non-rewards members. And actually, if I tell you the number, is that 60% versus 7.5%. In other words, that is a big differentiator. So which means it's showing that it's driving that digital adoption. And we keep on seeing it growing from month to month. Also, with the existence of any bank is to cross-sell. You want the customers, when they can afford, to choose your product first. That is what you want. In other words, to create stickiness. What we've seen in this area is that the cross-sell ratio of rewards members is higher than non-members, with 57.5% of members have at least two African Bank products. There's 46.1% of non-members. And also what you're seeing is that Audacious Rewards members with 5 or more African Bank products are double of those in percentage terms of non-rewards members. Now, what is also exciting for us as a bank is that the Audacious Rewards members are younger than the non-members, which means we can build a closer relationship with them for the foreseeable future, which then will increase our customer lifetime value.
That's fantastic. I mean, there's some great stats there, Neba. One question I do have for you, and I know I'm putting you on the spot with this one, is there an issue with digital literacy here? And what are you doing to attract those people that don't have access to the relevant kind of smartphones or other devices that can access the Audacious Rewards digitally?
Thank you for the question. When I first joined banking, I made an assumption that people do not have the devices which will digitally enable them to transact. That was my assumption. The more I spoke to people, I said, and when I visited branches and we did a lot of surveys, people said, no, I've got a top of the range cell phone. Then I asked them, then why not transacting with us? The response was simple. Never, we worried about security. We worried about being scammed. So it was not a matter of, well, I don't have the right device. The person saying, listen, I've worked so hard for my money. I don't want to just lose it overnight. And what we've shown them to say, no, we've done a lot of campaigns as a bank to say, look, our services are secure. And also because the more they engage with Audacious Rewards, they find that actually it's quite safe to do so. And also, therefore, it becomes word of mouth to say, listen, this is actually quite a safe space. And that has been our biggest challenge. But once you start getting going, when we find that there's actually great value in this.
Okay, so it comes down to communication again, ultimately.
Exactly.
To wrap up, what are the key pointers or pieces of advice for other bank loyalty program leads, and indeed anybody running or thinking of setting up a loyalty program, regardless of sector, to take from your journey with Audacious Rewards? Neba, let's start with you and then we'll close with Gabby's thoughts.
For me, top of my head, there are many, but I'll keep to three. The most important one for me is seamless joining process. I can say with Audacious Rewards, you can join in less than a minute. So we've put a premium on that. Also, equally important, as a behavioral scientist, it's finding that balance between instant and delayed gratification, because those are equally important. How do you cater for the immediate needs of someone? And yet, how do you make sure that you reinforce long-term positive financial lifestyle modification? That is the second one. The last one, and I think more needs to be done in this area. The benefit partners must be aligned with the purchasing behaviors of your customers and not based on which partner is available or which partner I, as a leader, has got a relationship with the other CEO, or is not based on what are the favorable commercial terms. Therefore, the decisions on the partners you make must be purely focused on what the customer needs. And that is at the heart of customer centricity.
So Gabby, over to you for your closing words.
No, I can only echo the points that Neba made here, Austin. I think on that last point on these brands kind of that matter for the customers in there. It's interesting because one of the main 2024 objectives that we have as a company as well is to really forge such direct brand partnerships around the world with brands that want to get in front of the right communities so that they can feature their stories, their content, their products, their services to add value to that particular audience. And so we internally like to call it a lot reward shops reimagined, because reward shops have been around for a long time. But if you really push yourself and think about, okay, how would you reimagine these kind of reward shops to make them truly memorable and unique? Basically, that's kind of where we think that the overall loyalty industry is going, and we want to play a leading role, of course, in that space. Now, if you think about that element of reward shops reimagined, it's probably fair to say that Audacious Rewards and African Bank are actually at the forefront of this journey. So we're super excited to support the bank's vision and their strategic plans, because we think and we deeply believe that they can be a source of inspiration for not just the banks across the African continent, but truly across many other regions and also across many other industries. So I think what Neb and the team are working on in the space of what is so fondly called rewarding the unrewarded has got many potential applications and enormous opportunities to develop businesses, but also really people's personal lives. So I think it's a privilege to be part of it, and we're very excited about the journey.
Gabby, thank you as always. And Neba, a huge thank you for sharing your insights today into what I think is fair to say is groundbreaking work in rewarding the unrewarded and redefining whole-of-bank loyalty. And with that, we wrap up another episode.
Thank you very much, Austin, for having us.
Thank you for having us, Austin.
Okay, so thanks so much for listening to the Loylogic Podcast. Now, you'll find more great insights and helpful content about global loyalty and rewards solutions at loylogic.com. There you'll also find a transcript of this podcast. Further episodes of our podcast will be added to all of the usual podcast channels. And if you have a topic that you would like us to cover or a question you would like to ask, don't hesitate to get in touch via loylogic.com. Thank you again for listening, and we look forward to welcoming you back soon.